Ever walked into your bathroom or stood at the kitchen sink and caught a whiff of something foul coming up from the drain? Maybe it smells like rotten eggs, or maybe it's just this musty sewer like odor that hits you the moment you turn on the water. Most people reach for a bottle of chemical drain cleaner or pour some bleach down there and hope for the best. But here's the thing, that only masks the problem for a day or two, and then the smell comes right back. In 42 years of plumbing, I have never had a smelly drain in my own home, not once. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I do, step by step, so you can get rid of that odor for good. Plus, stick around to the end where I'll share my simple monthly maintenance routine that keeps drains smelling fresh all year long. Let's get into it. Smelly drains are one of the most common complaints I hear from homeowners. And the good news is that almost every cause has a simple fix. You don't need expensive tools. You don't need to call a plumber. Once you understand where that smell is actually coming from and how your drain system works, you can solve this yourself in an afternoon. So let's start with the basics. Before we jump into the fixes, I want you to understand why drains smell in the first place. Because once you know the why, the solutions make a whole lot more sense. Every drain in your home, whether it's a sink, a shower, a tub, or a floor drain, is connected to your sewer system. And the only thing standing between the air in your home and the gases in that sewer line is a small curved section of pipe called a P-trap. If you look under your kitchen or bathroom sink right now, you'll see it. It's that U-shaped bend in the pipe right below the drain. That curve holds a small amount of water at all times. And that little pool of water acts as a seal. It blocks sewer gas from rising up through the pipe and into your living space. When that seal is broken, or when something else goes wrong in the drain system, that's when you get the smell. So with that in mind, let's start with the most common cause and work our way through every fix you need to know. The number one reason drains smell, and the easiest one to fix, is a dried out P-trap. This happens most often with drains you don't use regularly. Maybe you've got a guest bathroom that only gets used a few times a year, or a floor drain in the basement or laundry room that you forget about entirely. Over time, the water sitting in that P-trap evaporates. Once it's gone, there's nothing stopping sewer gas from coming straight up through the drain and into your home. The fix could not be simpler. Just run water down the drain for about 15 to 20 seconds. That's it. That refills the trap and restores the seal. I make it a habit to walk through my house once a month and run water in every drain, even the ones I rarely use. That floor drain in the utility room, the shower in the spare bathroom, even the drain in the wet bar, if you've got one. 15 seconds of water and you're done. Now, here's a pro tip for drains you almost never use. After you run the water, pour about a tablespoon of mineral oil down the drain. The oil floats on top of the water in the trap and dramatically slows evaporation. I've seen traps stay sealed for 3 or 4 months with this trick. It's something I've done for decades and it works beautifully. Once you've checked all your P-traps, let's move on to the next most common culprit. If your P-traps are full and you're still getting an odor, the problem is almost always buildup inside the drain itself. And I'm not talking about a clog. I'm talking about a thin layer of gunk, biofilm is the technical term, that coats the inside of your drain pipe over time. It's a combination of soap residue, toothpaste, skin oils, hair, food particles, and bacteria. And it smells terrible. Now, here's where most people go wrong. They grab a bottle of chemical drain cleaner and pour it down there. I'm going to be straight with you. I have never once in 42 years recommended chemical drain cleaners. They're harsh on your pipes, especially if you have older cast iron or galvanized steel. They can damage the finish on your fixtures. And they don't actually remove the biofilm. They just burn a hole through whatever's sitting in the middle of the pipe and leave the walls coated in gunk. Here's what I do instead. Start by removing the drain stopper or strainer. Then take a long, flexible drain brush. You can find these at any hardware store for about $5, and work it up and down inside the drain pipe. You want to physically scrub the inside walls of that pipe. Pull the brush out and you'll see exactly what's been causing the smell. It's usually this dark, slimy residue, and it's not pleasant, but it's satisfying to get it out of there. After you've scrubbed it, flush the drain with very hot water for about 30 seconds. Then pour half a cup of baking soda down the drain. Follow it with 1 cup of white vinegar and let it fizz for about 10 minutes. That combination does a wonderful job of breaking down any remaining residue without damaging your pipes. Finish with another 30 seconds of hot water. The drain should smell completely clean at this point. By the way, if you're finding this advice helpful, you should know it's just a small sample of what I've put into my new book, 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It's packed with practical old house fixes that can help you avoid expensive repair bills. To grab your copy, you can scan the QR code on the screen right now, or just use the first link in the description below. All right, let's continue. This next one catches a lot of people off guard because most homeowners don't even know it exists. If you have a bathroom sink, take a look at the front of the basin, right near the top rim. You'll see a small hole, usually about ½ inch across. That's the overflow port. Its job is to prevent the sink from overflowing if you leave the water running with the stopper closed. Water enters that hole and drains down into the tailpiece below. The problem is that the channel behind that overflow hole is a narrow passage that never gets cleaned. Over the years, it collects the same biofilm and gunk that builds up in your main drain. And because it's a tight, damp space with very little airflow, bacteria thrive in there. I can't tell you how many times I've been called to a house for a smelly bathroom sink, and the drain itself was perfectly clean. The smell was coming from the overflow. To clean it, take a small bottle brush or a pipe cleaner and gently work it into the overflow opening. You can also use a turkey baster or a small funnel to pour a mixture of half baking soda and half vinegar directly into the overflow port. Let it sit for about 15 minutes. Then flush it by running the faucet with the stopper closed until water flows through the overflow. You'll notice a big difference. I clean mine about once every 3 months, and it takes less than 5 minutes. Now, if you've done everything we've talked about so far and you're still getting a sewer smell, there's a good chance the issue isn't in the drain at all. It might be on your roof. Every plumbing system has vent pipes that run up through the roof of your home. These vents serve 2 purposes. They allow air into the system so water can flow freely through your drain pipes. And they give sewer gases a place to escape safely above the roof line. If a vent pipe gets blocked, those gases have nowhere to go but back down through your drains and into your home. Common causes of blocked vents include bird nests, leaves, ice buildup in winter, or even a tennis ball that a kid tossed up there years ago. You might also hear a gurgling sound when you flush a toilet or drain a sink. That gurgling is a classic sign of a venting problem. If you're comfortable getting on your roof safely, you can visually inspect the vent openings. They're usually 1.5 to 3-inch diameter pipes sticking up through the roof. Look for any obvious obstructions. If you can see a blockage near the top, you can often pull it out by hand or with a pair of long nose pliers. If the blockage is deeper, you may need to run a garden hose down the vent to flush it out. I will say this though. If you're not comfortable on a roof, or if your roof is steep, please don't risk it. Call a plumber for this one. No fix is worth a fall. A plumber can clear a vent pipe in about 30 minutes, and it's usually not an expensive service call. If your kitchen sink is the one that smells and you have a garbage disposal, this is very likely your problem. Disposals are wonderful tools, but they need to be maintained. Most people flip the switch, run some water, and call it done. But food particles get trapped under the splash guard, around the grinding plate, and inside the upper chamber of the disposal. Over time, that food breaks down and creates a serious odor. Here's my cleaning method, and I do this every 2 weeks. First, turn off the disposal and make sure it's completely off. Then peel back the rubber splash guard and scrub the underside with an old toothbrush and some dish soap. You will be amazed at what comes off of there. It's usually this black slimy buildup that smells awful. Once that's clean, drop about 6 ice cubes and a handful of coarse salt, like kosher salt, into the disposal. Turn it on with cold water running. The ice and salt work together to knock debris off the grinding components. After that, cut a lemon in half and drop both halves in with the disposal running. That does a nice job of freshening things up naturally. One thing I want to mention: never pour grease or cooking oil down a disposal. I know it seems like the disposal can handle it, but grease coats the inside of your pipes and becomes a magnet for food particles. That combination is one of the worst odor producers I've ever dealt with. Here's a step that most people skip entirely, and it makes a huge difference. Your drain stoppers, pop-up assemblies, and the tailpiece, that's the vertical pipe that connects directly below the drain, all collect buildup over time. Pull the stopper out of your bathroom sink and look at it. I guarantee there's a clump of hair and slime wrapped around the pivot rod. That's a bacteria factory sitting right inside your drain. Remove the stopper completely. On most bathroom sinks, you can unscrew the pivot rod nut on the back of the tailpiece by hand or with a pair of channel lock pliers. It's usually a small plastic or chrome nut, about 3/4 of the way down the back of the tailpiece. Once the pivot rod slides out, the stopper lifts right up. Clean the stopper thoroughly with hot soapy water. Then take your drain brush and scrub inside the tailpiece while you've got the stopper out. You've got clear access now, so take advantage of it. In the shower, pull out the strainer cover and clean underneath it. Most shower strainers just snap out or unscrew, though with 2 small screws. You'll find hair and soap buildup underneath that will turn your stomach. I do this in my own home about once a month, and it takes maybe 2 minutes per drain. Put everything back together, run some hot water, and you'll notice an immediate improvement. Let's talk about some common problems you might run into and how to solve them. First, the smell only happens when you run the water. This usually points to biofilm inside the pipe. When water flows over the buildup, it disturbs the bacteria and releases the odor. Go back to the drain brush and baking soda method I described earlier and give the pipe a thorough cleaning. Second, the smell is only in one specific drain. That almost always means the issue is local to that drain, either a dried P-trap buildup in the tailpiece or a dirty overflow port. Focus your cleaning efforts on that one fixture and you should find the source quickly. Third, you get a sewer smell throughout the house, not just near one drain. This is a strong indicator of a blocked vent pipe. When the vents can't do their job, negative pressure builds in the system and pulls the water out of P-traps, breaking those seals we talked about earlier. Check your vents and refill all your traps. Fourth, the smell comes back within a day or two after cleaning. If you've cleaned thoroughly and the odor returns fast, you might have a small crack or a failed seal in a drain pipe or the wax ring on a nearby toilet. A cracked tailpiece or loose slip joint nut can let sewer gas seep out. Inspect your connections under the sink with a flashlight. Look for any signs of moisture, discoloration, or corrosion around the joints. Tighten any slip joint nuts that feel loose and replace any washers that look worn or compressed. Fifth, the smell is strongest in the morning. This is a classic dried P-trap situation. Overnight, with no water flowing, traps in low use, drains can lose just enough water to break the seal. That monthly walkthrough I mentioned earlier will solve this completely. The good news is, if you follow the steps we've covered, you should be able to avoid most of these issues entirely. Now, for that bonus tip I promised at the beginning, and this is the real secret to why I've never had a smelly drain in 42 years. I follow a simple monthly maintenance routine, and it takes me less than 15 minutes to cover every drain in my house. On the first Saturday of every month, I walk through the entire house and do three things. First, I run water for 15 to 20 seconds in every drain, including the ones I rarely use. That keeps all the P-traps filled. Second, I pour half a cup of baking soda followed by a cup of hot vinegar down each kitchen and bathroom drain. I let it fizz for 10 minutes while I move on to the next drain, and then I flush each one with hot water. Third, I do a quick visual check under every sink. I'm looking for moisture, drips, or anything that looks different from last month. That's it. 3 simple tasks, once a month, 15 minutes total. I've been doing this since I was in my 20s, and it's the reason I've never had to deal with a smelly drain in my own home. Prevention is always easier and cheaper than repair. If you make this a habit, I promise you, drain odors will become a thing of the past. Before you go, I want to make sure you know about my new book, 100 Old House Fixes That Save You Thousands. It goes deeper than we can in a single video, with practical fixes, warning signs, and simple steps for older homes. If you want to avoid expensive repair bills before you call a plumber, this book is for you. Just scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to get your copy. Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.